they influence me with discipline. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm gonna do.
What originally drew you to insurance, and specifically the commercial side of things?
I worked as a teacher and coach for almost 17 years at West Memphis High School in Arkansas, and my wife, late wife now, she came down with breast cancer. She battled it so strong. She battled it for 7 years, and before she passed away. And our kids were 10 and 7 at the time. And at that point, on a teacher's salary, making $45,000 a year, that's not enough to support a family. So I had to look at a different career. My first business was a real estate investment business that flopped. I just didn't know what I was doing. Very mindful with who we surround ourselves with, because it shapes us more than we ever know.
Welcome to the Perfect 100, the podcast for BNI members who want to maximize their membership, deepen their impact, and grow their business through intentional networking. I'm your host, Tammy Zurak, a CliftonStrengths coach, longtime BNI leader, and one of the few members worldwide to maintain a perfect Power of One score. Each week, we'll explore the habits, mindsets, and everyday strategies of BNI members who are turning their membership into momentum.
Hello and welcome back to the Perfect 100. I'm your host, Tammy Zurak, and I hold the business coach seat in the East Memphis BNI chapter. Before we jump in, a quick note for my fellow BNI members. This is episode 36 of the Perfect 100, which means there are 35 additional episodes already available. If you're working on your CEUs, just one episode earns you a full one, so that adds up to a little over 8 months of weekly CEU eligible conversations that are already in the mix for you. A lot of people tell me that they don't realize there are all those episodes out there, so I want to make sure that you knew. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe so you get future episodes popping up automatically for you and you don't miss what's coming next. All right, so changing gears today, I am excited to be joined by Adam Neal, a commercial insurance agency owner and leader in the East Memphis BNI chapter that I am also a part of. In this conversation, we're going to look at how early influences shape leadership, how responsibility changes the way you show up, and what steady leadership really looks like. Welcome, Adam.
Hey, thanks, Tammy. I appreciate you having me. I'm excited to be here.
My pleasure. So let's start the way we always do with a BNI member is let's have you give us your 45 seconds.
All right. Well, my name's Adam Neal. I'm the agency owner at the Adam Neal Agency at Farmers Insurance. I hold the commercial chair in the BNI East Memphis chapter, one of the best chapters in the world, no doubt. You can look at our Power of One reports and check that out. But enough about that. Here at the Adam Neal Agency, we offer commercial insurance to all business owners. We offer commercial insurance regarding workers' comp, general liability, umbrella coverage, you name it, commercial auto, we provide it. And we're going to make sure we find the right fit at the right price for you. Our specific ask is contractors, restaurant owners, and just basically general contractors.
All right. So before we talk leadership, because you are in leadership, I want to go back a little way. So we're going to go all the way back to your childhood. Tell me what it was like growing up. What did your parents do? And what kind of environment did you grow up in?
Tammy, I can remember sitting in the living room as an elementary student. My father was my basketball coach, and we had my first in-depth discussion on how I was going to be the leader of our basketball team. I guess I've already portrayed, I've always portrayed leadership traits, and my parents, who were absolutely amazing, they recognized it and they helped me cultivate it. And then, throughout the years, whenever I got into middle school and high school, I was the student government president. I played every sport under the sun and all of those with the amazing coaches. I've had great coaches, and even when I got to college, I had a couple of coaches that I wouldn't say was great, wouldn't say were great, but I. I think that I was led to those coaches because they teach you. They teach you what you know you need to, as a leader, you need to know what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say. And throughout sports, student government association, and even into becoming a teacher and a coach after college, um, you know, I've I've had great influences around me, from principals and superintendents, government officials. You just sit back and you learn by watching, you learn by seeing, you learn by doing, what they do, kind of mimic them. I hate to say fake it until you make it, but, when you don't know what you're doing, you have to rely on, the people that are around you, which is one of, one of the biggest things that we can take away as leaders is and just individuals on an everyday basis. We have to be very mindful with who we surround ourselves with because it shapes us more than we ever know.
Well, I always think the fake it till you make it sounds like a negative thing, but it's a mindset, right? Is if you go into it with the mindset that I've got this, then that it actually physically changes. There's I may have mentioned this before, but there's a video on YouTube, it's a TED Talk where a lady does she has you do the Superman pose, and there's another one where it actually changes your physiology. And if you feel in your head, you talk to yourself for it's a 2 minutes. You have to do it for 2 minutes, and talk yourself up a little bit. It gives you that mindset that I can accomplish anything. So if you're walking in to do a presentation or just stand in front of a group of people or do a podcast, it always helps. What did your parents do?
My mom was a nurse and my father was in the oil business.
Okay. What do you
Yeah.
do in the oil business?
He worked for a couple different companies. One was Coastal Unilube and another one was, Gurley Oil. And he ran the, all the warehouses, on site. So
Interesting.
he was a manager of sorts. So he was a leader himself as
Okay.
well as mom.
My aunt works in the oil business or has worked in the oil business, and, Landman, I don't know if you've seen that, is a big show these days. This at this point in time where we're recording it, that's a big hit, so interesting. I never knew so much about the oil business. It's pretty crazy. Of course, I'm sure it's dramatized just a little bit, but
Well, I'm just glad Billy Bob Thornton is coming back for season 3. I'd heard rumors.
I
Yeah,
hadn't heard. That's good news. So, what do you think you absorbed about work, or responsibility, or growing up in with two parents that you had, and the coaching, all the coaches? What do you feel like you pulled most from those things?
discipline, positivity, basically, and I know we're gonna get into this, I believe my CliftonStrengths,
Okay.
they were the ones that shaped me. Without my parents, I would not be half of the person that I am today. And first time I'd ever heard the Lombardi rule of 15 minutes. If you arrive 15 minutes early, you're on time. You arrive on time, you're late. That was my dad, and even to
Same.
this day, yes, yes, they influence me with discipline. If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it, uh,
Yeah,
whether I
love that.
want to or not. Yeah, so I have to attribute, all of those traits to both my parents.
My dad was the kind that was backing down the driveway if you weren't in the car. If he said he was leaving at noon and you weren't in the car at noon, you were not catching the ride because it
Oh,
was already gone.
yes, I grew up in some dramatic situations as well where we were trying to leave and we might have been a minute late, and it was no fun riding in that
Yeah.
car after you leave late. No.
Even to this day, my dad's been retired since he for several decades, and it still hasn't it's the same.
Hey, we are who we are, we're not
Yep.
gonna change in that regard.
Discipline is discipline.
Discipline is discipline,
Uh,
absolutely.
so as a kid or a young adult, were you more of a rule follower or a competitor, or a steady person people could count on, or maybe all of them?
Yeah, I would say I was a little bit of all of them. I've always been a rule follower. I do not like breaking the rules. I have I just can't live with my conscience gets the best of me if I don't do what I'm supposed to be doing. So yeah, I've always been a competitor too. Even as we'll get into in a minute, that's one of my top five is competitiveness, discipline. I've always, as a matter of fact, a few years ago, I got in trouble at the beach because we were playing a nice family game of beach volleyball, and my daughters were not happy with me because we were losing, and that was not okay with me. Even in a friendly game, I had to take a break and go sit down because I'm extremely competitive.
That's hilarious. Um, so you own a commercial insurance agency, which isn't something I would think most people just stumble into. What originally drew you to insurance, and specifically the commercial side of things?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, when I graduated from college, um, and I played baseball all the way through college. I graduated, and one of my former high school coaches, ended up hiring me, back at the high school that I had graduated from. And I worked as a teacher and coach for almost 17 years, at West Memphis High School in Arkansas. And my wife, late wife now, she came down with breast cancer. She battled it so strong. She battled it for 7 years, and before she passed away. And our kids were 10 and 7 at the time. And at that point, on a teacher's salary, making, $45,000 a year, that's not enough to support a family. So I had to, I had to look at a different career, and I kept teaching and coaching for a year after she passed. But in that time, I ended up meeting my fiance now, and I started hanging out with her family. They're all entrepreneurs. Every one of them. They've been in the car dealership. They've been in banking. Um, so my mindset started shifting because of the people I was hanging around, and that they're all business owners. My conversations were different. Than I'd never had conversations, about entrepreneurship. And the first book I read about it was Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and I was ready to go. My first business was a real estate investment business that flopped. I just didn't know what I was doing. I jumped in, and I have a tendency to jump in with both feet, especially back then without testing the water. And so a after that failed, I started looking into insurance, and it really intrigued me, how I could help people. I've always been about serving other people. I want to help people. I want people to be better after we've had an interaction than they were before we had one. And insurance had residuals. It had unlimited growth potential. It was something that was on me. If we were going to be successful, it was going to be. And I knew that my work ethic was we were not going to fail due to my work ethic. So I I ended up calling Farmers Insurance, and uh, they offered me a position as an agency owner, and great support here at Farmers. That was one thing that led me to Farmers. And as a commercial insurance agent with Farmers, um, it's, I can't really say because I do all lines, but commercial was the weakest area. So I don't want to be weak in any area. And, my book of business, for homes, autos, life insurance, that they were all up here. And then my commercial book was much smaller. So what I, what I did was, I took action to start marketing more towards commercial. And as a matter of fact, whenever we started our chapter a couple of years ago, Tammy, um, I was asked, "Do you want uh, the personal line seat?" And I said,
Right.
"No, I want the commercial seat."
Yeah.
I said, "I need to grow my commercial book, so I need to get better at being a
Yeah.
commercial agent." So, and here we are today, 2 years later.
Wow. Well, you said a whole lot in there. So there's a lot in there. So thank you, first of all, for sharing your story. I know I can't imagine and I know your story, but for the listeners, obviously they haven't met you. Those that haven't met you don't know it. So thank you for sharing. Having a spouse pass and having young kids. I can't imagine what that would do. For the situation and how that, but that you were able to rebound and, figure out how to take those next steps and create something for your family that's now going to be, you've been a great success. We'll talk more about how much of a success later, but, it's amazing. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you having me on so I can.
This episode is brought to you by Tammy Zurak Coaching. Ready to build your strengths, your business, and your brand? Visit TammyZurak.com and click the button to book your free strategy chat. Let's turn your passion into a thriving success. TammyZurak.com.
Yeah, well, and then the fact that you called farmers, I love that was you thought about it. Hanging around with your girlfriend's family inspired you to say, I could do this. That I think is a big thing. I've worked with tons of solopreneurs who decided to leave their 9 to 5 and decide to start a business, and they often are doing something that was a hobby that they turned into something that they could get paid for. So to kind of have the wherewithal to take the jump, and going from having it's a completely different thing. I think, although there's a lot of similarities, I'm sure you were doing teaching and coaching in your business, but it's kind of a night and day kind of transition from being a teacher to running a commercial or just an insurance business in general. So that says a lot about who you are. That you could look around, gather enough moxie to decide that I'm going to call them up and they're going to give me a business and I'm going to go and make it work. So I think that says a ton about you. So congratulations on that.
Well, thank you, Tammy. That means a lot coming
Of
from
course.
you.
Thank you. So when you took over insurance, because that now we're kind of in a different realm, what did you learn early on about risk protection, responsibility that shapes how you serve your clients today?
Gosh, great question. I knew absolutely nothing. Even, it's just, yeah, and being a former educator, I can go ahead and tell you, most of us understand this, especially if we've gone through college to get a degree towards a profession. You feel really good about it once you have your degree, but when you go and actually start performing the job, you realize, "Oh, I have no idea what I'm doing here." This was not in any of the classes I took. So, the real world scenarios take place. So, and that's one reason I went with Farmers was because they provide so much, in regards to training and support. It's a big family here at Farmers, but the service the service part of it, is something that I took from teaching and coaching. When I was coaching high school, I was a head high school baseball and assistant high school football coach. Yeah, you always want to bring the best out of the people around you as a teacher and coach, and that's why you get into it. You definitely don't get into it for the money. Um, Maybe you get into it for the retirement because as a teacher, retirement is better than the actual pay when you're working,
Or the
but
summer's off, unless you're
or the
coaching,
summer's
then you're
off.
coaching all
Yeah,
summer.
yeah. That's right, that's right. But, helping people make the most of themselves is, something that I transferred over and really, work hard to try to make sure my team, um, I give that to my team. I give that kinda service to my team and my clients. I want them to know, especially when we're talking on a Teams call, that they know that they're the most important thing in my life in that moment. And so,
Okay. So, for listeners who don't really understand how owning an insurance franchise works, which I'm guessing is a lot of people, I think that's kind of an important part of your story. If you own an insurance business, how does advancement happen?
well, it happens based on your performance. So in the insurance business, the more you sell, the more money you make, and the more money you make, the more opportunities present themselves. Whether you want to make an internal acquisition, buy someone else's book, whatever the company, as far as performance-based incentives, have based on your key performance indicators, your KPIs in the insurance business. Um, those all promote growth in this industry, and and actually, recently, I was hired and won't start for a couple months as the West Tennessee district manager. And if you don't come in here and do your best and work hard, I mean, Tammy, we're cut from the same cloth. The work is done when the work's done. It doesn't matter if it's 6 p.m. or 1 a.m.
Right.
The work is finished when it's done, and I can't sleep until it's done. So you work hard, you make sure that you do things the right way, you surround yourself with the right people, and build relationships, and what BNI is all about. Build relationships and hold yourself and everybody around you accountable. You're going to be successful.
Yeah, I love that, and congratulations on your promotion. So,
Thank you.
it's interesting because I come from corporate land where you just climb the ladder, rung after rung until you get to those roles, and more, it's the same concept as you develop your team and you help them be successful, and then you get more, and then, you move up and then you get more, and it kind of goes that way. From a franchise perspective, I don't know that I knew that was. I mean, I've worked with financial offices where they oversee other offices, which is, I'm guessing, kind of a similar thing as your success spreads. And my husband's actually doing that with his franchise, or has asked him to mentor other, and help them to do what he's done with his business. So even when you're in a franchise, you still have a structure where, well, if when you own a franchise, there's still somebody kind of saying, "Hey, this is how things are going to go, and we'd like you to help them go better over there."
Right, right,
So,
exactly. I remember, the better job you do, the more work you get. And
right.
and I like that, actually. That means I'm doing a good job. I'm not the
Yeah.
type of person that can sit around. I have to be doing something all the time. So, yes.
Yes.
No, I get that.
All right. Well, let's transition over to your palms and your oh my gosh, Power of One. Couldn't think of what I wanted to call it. So your I'll just, for those not seeing the screen and only listening, I'll read your Power of One. So from the left, you have a score of 80 in the green. You have 20 points for attendance in the green. You have 10 points for referrals per week in the red. You have 10 points for visitors per week in the red. You have 20 points for one-to-ones per week in the green, and CEUs 20 points in the green for that. And then I'll go to your palms here. So out of 28 weeks total, you only had one absence, and I know that probably had something to do with your situation. As you were getting promoted, you were out to go and take care of that. Referrals given inside 7, referrals given outside 14, referrals received inside 4, referrals received outside 19, visitors 4, one-to-ones 29. Thank you for closed business 3,000, if I can read it, $38,830 and 55 CEUs. So what do you say? What do you have? Just what do you think about your report?
Oh, it goes along with who I am. I'm gonna show up. I'm going to meet with you. We're definitely going to see how we can help one another. As far as getting other people in, I'm not going to bring them in unless I think they're a good fit for us and we're a good fit for them. And so, sometimes in BNI, you have a BNI member that's extremely picky about bringing people in, and you have a BNI member that invites everybody, which is what we really should do. But um, my just the way my brain functions and the way I operate, I just can't invite everybody. So, inviting visitors is one of my weak areas. Even though over the past 2 years, three of my visitors are now members, and I'm so
Members,
grateful
yes.
that they're here. Right. So that just goes to show I'm only going to do it if it's valid in my mind for both parties.
Well, and
So
you've had 4 in that last stretch that I just read, which is great, right? But because it's a 6-month window,
yeah,
it averages over time. So, it's unfortunately or fortunately, I mean, you're doing in that little snippet, you're doing what you need to be doing, or what the chapter would like for you to do. I guess what BNI suggests is a great way to grow the chapter. But because it's a 6-month rolling average, but you're 80 in the green, so you're all good.
right,
But I
right.
did wanna talk about because you were so you mentioned earlier that the chapter we're in is we started it in April, it'll be 2 years in April, and this is, February, so we're coming up on 2 years. So, you were on the membership committee when we first started, and then you took over as president in October. When I looked it back at I have, the view to be able to see from a chapter director consultant's view, some of the trends. And when we first started out as a chapter, we kind of were flatlined from April till about the first leadership transition in October. And then we did a slow, steady climb up through when you got to take over. And then we kind of did a little dip down. And then we kind of now we're headed right back up again, which is very, very common. But I'm curious about how because you're now in a different position as president and you're kind of you were new to BNI when you came in. So what do you feel like from supporting the chapter's role and seeing it from, kind of inside and then over top of what does that feel like for you?
Well, everything in business, from BNI to owning your own business to being an employee in a business, even life in general, is a roller coaster. You have to take the ups, you have to take the down. You know that when there's a downturn, just like a downturn in the market, there's going to eventually be an upturn. And our group in BNI East Memphis, we all genuinely care about each other. And whenever you do, and there's not many groups that you can say that about, but when you have a group of people that come together, all business professionals, and you actually want the person next to you to succeed, maybe even more than yourself, that says a lot about not only who we are as individuals, but who we are as a chapter. So any slight downturns that we've had, I've never been worried about it because I know that the character and professionalism that we have in our group, that we were gonna turn it around and really shoot up.
Yeah.
Really, yeah, for lack of a
Well, and
better term.
yes, well, and it's normal, we had, because I'm in this chapter, I know we had people leave just because they were moving, different jobs,
Yeah,
etcetera, so it's completely
that
normal. We
happens.
just had several happen all at the same time, unfortunately, but you're still in charge of it kind of once we've dropped, now what do we do, right? So, as somebody who's relatively new to BNI leadership, what kind of guidance or support mattered as you stepped into that role, and, what did you feel was important to get right?
Oh, as far as stepping into the president's role,
Yes.
for our chapter, yeah. No, our past president, Jonathan McAllister, and our vice president, Tiffany Clemis, did a phenomenal job. The transition was seamless. Like you said, the only thing that happened is we actually just had situations. Nobody was upset or left in vain from our chapter, but they took a new job, they took a new role. So what what Anna Wells, our vice president now, started doing, along with me, we worked together just to make sure that we could take the foundation that they had laid and just expound upon it. You know, we weren't trying to recreate the wheel. We just wanted to take everything. I mean, we have people like you, Tammy, who've been in BNI for 12 years. Tiffany has been in BNI for. We have so many great members that know and understand how to be successful, and they know and understand how to grow a chapter. That just leaning on the group, you know, being a new member in leadership, leaning on you guys. I mean, I don't know how many times I've texted you, "Hey, what do you think about this? You know, should we do this? You know, what is this? What do we do here in BNI with this?" You know, being new, I needed that guidance, and you know, our group is so great. You, Tiffany, Jonathan. I mean, I could go down the list, but our leadership group has been phenomenal. So, just taking the reins and trying to keep growing what our leadership group in the past has already began.
Well, I think you can take some credit also because you bring to the party things that other people don't have, and we're going to talk more about this when we get to your Clifton strengths. But I think that, and oftentimes because of the format where we switch over to new leadership every October, sometimes there can be a downturn that doesn't rebound. The fact that you're concerned, involved, all the things matters. We kind of I've said this before on previous episodes, but because I'm in the chapter and because I've had the benefit of seeing people's strengths, we had a little insight into a lot of people's backgrounds and what they bring to the party. And yours was the first name that came to the top of the list when we were talking about who is going to succeed the next, into the next chapter, into the next season. I can't think what we would call it, the new year, I guess, because weird since it starts in October. But and your name was right there. So I think that you definitely deserve a lot of the credit in keeping us moving forward. So,
Well, I
and I
appreciate
think
that, Tammy. Yeah,
yeah,
thank
and
you.
I think that, the support system part is not everybody has that, right? We have a strong chapter because we created it and we police it, for lack of a better way of putting it. We meet every month, chapter success meetings. What have been your, sitting in those chapter success meetings, because you've been in them since the beginning and we do them regularly. What were your kind of I've never been in BNI to now I'm running the show here. What have been your impressions of that process?
Oh, the chapter success meetings are extremely vital to growth. I mean, for one time a month, you're able to get together with a brain trust, and you are able to plan for how are you going to grow. You get to talk about which seats not only are open, but which visitors are going to be the best to reach back out to. So if you're going to grow, if you're not having chapter success meetings monthly, then I can promise you, I can look at your reports, and you're not going to have a very successful chapter. So yeah, sitting in those and just brainstorming on how we're going to move forward. Who's going to step up, and that's one thing that I love about our chapter is that everybody, you don't have to say, "Hey, who's going to do this?" and then hear crickets. Everybody steps up and does their part, and that's what makes it successful.
Awesome, love that. And do you, just out of curiosity, and because I don't know the answer to the question, do you guys meet? Does the ELT executive leadership team meet on a fairly regular basis to talk about things week to week?
Yes, absolutely. So we have been meeting every Thursday at 11:30, which I really, really like because it's the day we meet on Wednesdays. So if anything comes up or we have any issues to take care of, it's still fresh. So when we meet every Thursday at
Love
11:30.
that. I found that in my experience as a director, consultant, chapter success coach, I'm got it still struggling with that transition, but that the chapters whose leadership teams meet outside of the chapter success meeting itself, the chapter's performance is better. Because you're talking about what needs addressing, right? So, if you care about what if you want your chapter's trajectory to be different, then you can't do it alone and you can't do it in a vacuum. Information comes to all in different ways. And if nobody talks about it, then nothing really changes, right?
Exactly. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Yeah, if your chapter is not successful, let's change some things. So,
Yes.
absolutely, I agree.
Love that. All right. So this is a good time to roll over to your CliftonStrengths results. So I will read them from the top. So your number one will be no surprise to people is harmony. You look for consensus. You have no use for unnecessary friction and guide others towards practical solutions. Number two is consistency. You are keenly aware of the need to treat people the same. You crave stable routines and clear rules and procedures that everyone can follow. Number three is positivity. You have contagious enthusiasm. You are naturally upbeat and can energize others. Number four is discipline. You enjoy routine and structure. Your world is best described by the order you create. And number five is competition. You measure your progress against the performance of others. You love contests and need to win. And because you've also done the full 34, two things I want to point out. So I've got your full 34 on the screen. So if you were only looking at, and we'll leave it on this screen, but if you were only looking at your top five, in your top five, the themes, which is off to the right if you're looking at the screen, they come in different colors, right? So your harmony and positivity are relationship building themes. Consistency and discipline are executing themes, and competition is an influencing theme. So you would think, you're split down the middle between relationship and executing. And you might think to yourself, gosh, I don't even have strategic showing up. However, if you go to the full 34, you can see that it says that your dominant theme is executing. So, but you have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, what is that? 5 executing themes. You have 4 relationship building themes, and then it drops to 1 on the influencing, and the strategics don't show up until
Mm,
a little later.
right,
But
right.
without this information, without the rest of it, so read 6 through 10 for the listeners. So 6 is achiever, 7 is focus, 8 is responsibility, 9 is developer, and 10 is includer. So now that I've said all of that, and you kind of alluded to it earlier, but what did you think about your results when you saw them?
Well, I was a little surprised that harmony was number 1, not surprised that it was in the top 10. I thought competition might be number 1, but one thing and I even told the chapter this, my whole life has been, I'm harmonious on one end and competitive on the other, so my whole life has been a contradiction. Because I mean, I want everything to work out. I want to fix things. I want to make sure everybody's happy and everybody's in a position to be successful. But, and I guess, saying that out loud now with you here on your podcast, uh, that goes along with competition. I want everybody to be successful. Well, your team, if you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if not everybody is successful, then you're not going to win. And I've got to win. I've
Yeah.
got, so
Well, and that shows. But so does all the other stuff, right? So, to be surprised that harmony, sometimes people are surprised about their own thing but when you read it and you show it to somebody else, they're like, oh, yeah, of course, that's you.
right.
Because you definitely bring those things, that is evident in all the ways you act. And ironically, or maybe not ironically, but I always say one of the examples I always give is when I'm talking to people about Clifton Strengths is if I'm looking at building a team, I'm looking for somebody who has high harmony because on my report, harmony, includer, some of those things are at the very
Yes.
bottom.
Yes.
so, so it's always a good balance to have somebody like you and somebody like me because we see I have high influence. Your influences are a little, not they just show up. They're there. They just show up.
Right.
The next set of things.
Right.
So there's not your go-to. Your go-to is making sure people are happy and, being all the positive things you said already and achiever in executing. You said earlier, I wrote down work hard until the work is done. Yeah, that's achiever. And I have high achiever also. Is there, the work's not done. I don't know if the work's ever done, but,
Yeah.
but we
It's
keep
like
working.
laundry. It's like laundry. It never goes away.
Exactly. Yep.
So,
Um,
well, and I do, and I want to give you a shout out on this because I had no idea of different areas, especially in my business, that I needed to outsource. I'm my strengths are, I need to let my team take over. I need to hire another company, to do that. So, to do different tasks within and using the Clifton strengths, it's spot on. It is. And it lets you know, it really gives you a guide on not only who you are, but what you need to rely on other people to help you. Like you were just saying, what type of person do I need to hire next to make sure that they can fill this void that we have in our office, because that's none of our strengths.
I want to make the point because you said you're using it potentially for hiring. Gallup, who owns Clifton Strengths, doesn't recommend using it as a hiring guide, but it is wonderful to understand that if you don't have somebody with the things on your team, that when you look at your team grid, that you might certainly want to find somebody that has that, because that will help you. But it doesn't mean you can't do those things. It just means it's not your top go-to innate thing to do. You can do all the things. Everybody can do all the pieces of the jobs that they're hired to do or in your business. It's just a matter of what do you enjoy doing, and what naturally comes to you. So you don't have to think about how to build your team and, execute the things. That's just natural for you. But if you wanted to go in a different direction, somebody else might be a great asset to you.
Exactly. Exactly. No, that's and when I said, talked about hiring, I just use it to, because I know what me and my team, what our strengths are. So I
Right.
don't want to hire someone that's just like us. We want to hire somebody, so it's a great thing to maybe not use for a hiring technique, but
Yeah.
to know what type of person you're looking for when you are as a business
Yeah.
owner.
I just want to make sure to make that to say
Yeah,
those things because we don't want to exclude somebody from doing certain things because it's not when we look at their profile, it's like, oh, well, they don't have, I can do lots of stuff. And I have completely you and I could do exactly the same stuff, but we have completely different strengths, right? So we
exactly.
both can accomplish, head to head. If I had an insurance business, I'd be happy to go toe to toe with you because that would be fun.
I'd
I
welcome
would
that challenge. We would
I
both
I would
grow off of that.
yes, I would be down for it, and we're completely opposite ends. So just want to make sure that's clear to listeners that that's not how we want to approach looking at our people. So you did share with me that after you had your strengths report done, that you took the I don't know how you have it, but you mentioned you have your strengths on your dresser, and so you
I
see it all
do.
the time. So what made you decide that having it visible was a good thing for you?
Well, you need to know who you are, and so many we all know who we are, but it's always good to do something like a Clifton Strengths test to, like I never knew, that my number one trait was harmony. It's important to see it every day. I put it on my dresser right next to my sock drawer because I know I'm gonna wear socks, most every day. So I sit it right there, and I wanna just remind me, "Hey, I'm disciplined." Whenever I wanna take a shortcut, I can think, oh, well, I see it every day, so it's fresh in my mind. If you look at it one time and then you don't see it again for another month, you might not remember what your top 5 are, much less your number 1. So, I think it's very important, especially not only as an individual, but as a human, not a human being, but a business owner and a leader. You need to know, and you need to rely on your top strengths to push your business and push yourself forward. So I think it's very important to sit it right next to where I can see it every
Yeah.
day. Need to know.
Well,
Staying ahead in a world driven by technology is key. At Wisdom Integrators, we don't just solve problems, we create opportunities. Wisdom Integrators, connecting your world, solving your problems.
I'll give you it's important as a human being because it helps you through everything, it helps you in your relationships, it helps you, in your work, all the things that when we do strengths organizations. So if you have me come in and let's say I do the assessment for everybody, then we create a strengths organization. That's one of the things that is recommended is we make placards that we can hang on the wall. So when people are coming in and out of your office and it becomes part of their process in their brain is like, oh, I know I need to go to this one when I need help with this because that's their strength. So not only does it help you because everybody knows what everybody's strengths are, but it also helps the person who has the strength because we're reinforcing, hey, Adam, I know I'm trying to make these big changes happen in my office, and I'd love to get your feedback on how I can make it a harmonious, everybody feels comfortable, happy, positive, moving forward. I would love your insight on that. So you're going to be like, well, I got that, right? Because that's what you're good at. And so it reinforces that you feel good. You're getting that endorphin hit because somebody's recognizing your value because that is what you bring to the party. But it also helps everybody to remember what those things are because 9 times out of 10, when I tell people what I do, they'll go like, "Oh, I think I took that," and I'll say, "Great, what were your results?" And they're like,
Mm.
yeah,
They don't
maybe
remember.
they look on their phone, but most people can't remember it, so
That's
it's
right.
good stuff. Yeah.
That's exactly right. No, it's helped me in my business. What was it last spring that I took it with you? It was maybe
Um,
April or March, but
yeah, it says, August 1st of 2025.
yes. So it's helped me in my business, and I've also given it to my employees too. So yeah, it's important that you know what each other's strengths are. And if you're feeding as a leader, you want to feed your employees with things that they're going to be good at, because that builds confidence, and confidence is dangerous in a good way. If your confidence keeps building, you're going to be more successful. And if I'm playing towards their weaknesses, then they're, like you said, the endorphin hit. They're not gonna build the confidence, and their performance will suffer. So it's extremely important
Yeah, I
to
love
know.
that. So harmony and consistency often, when you have both, often get misunderstood as keeping the peace, but they're really about fairness and stability. So how do those show up when you're managing conflict or guiding decisions?
Yeah, I've thought about that multiple times whenever I'm dealing with issues. But knowing that, with harmony, it's not just about making sure that everybody is okay, that I'm trying to people please. Because when you first think of harmony, you think, oh, well, they're a people pleaser. Well, I like for people to be happy, but you can't make everybody happy all the time, and you have to know that. So just knowing that, yes, you do want to please everyone, but at the same time, hey, I need to make sure we hold them accountable as well, and put them in position. So to be successful, it makes all the difference.
Yeah. Well, and you've got a number of other things right up there at the top that make sure that happens also in tandem. And positivity is one of your top strengths. And one description of that theme is distancing from cluttered or chaotic environments. How does that show up for you at work? And does it ever collide with your real life, like when you have kids, which I know you do?
Yes, no, well, at work, I make sure that I have my time, and I do it before I come into the office, of course. In the morning, I take about an hour before anything else happens. The first thing that I do every day before anything else, I get up early enough to make sure that I have that hour where nobody is around me. There's no chaos. There's no, because once you get to the office and the hustle and bustle, the phone's ringing, you know, your attention's got to be here. And then in 5 minutes, it's got to be over there. You've got to take breaks too throughout the day. And I do that as well. You know, maybe a 5 minute break or on a drive to a meeting, you know, you turn the radio off, turn the podcast off, and you sit and think. I love listening to Warren Buffett talk about you know, his success, and that's what he does all day. He sits and meditates, and it's extremely important to separate yourself if you want to be successful, because everybody that you know, the more successful you get and the higher that you climb, everybody wants a piece of your attention all the time. And so
Right.
you have to be very, very mindful and focused to make sure that you set yourself apart from all of that chaos. And I make sure that I do that daily.
Awesome. Well, I know Tony Robbins does that too, and I can only imagine what his days must look like. But he does the cold plunge and the meditation, to kind of start the day and get his mind right.
Yes. That works. That the cold plunge works as well. That's good.
Okay. I
Yeah.
I tried the cold shower ones, and whew, that's hard, so
Woo!
hard. We can do the
It's
cold plunge in my we can go do the pool in my backyard. It's very cold plunge right now, so I guess I
mine
could give it
too.
a try.
Mine too. I am not jumping in. It's probably still frozen over my pools.
Oh, no. That's not good. All right. So, how has being a parent changed your positivity, patience, or expectations around that order and environment?
So I have a son who's 20 and my daughter is 16. So they definitely challenge me in good ways. But as a parent, when you get in chaotic situations, you have to stay calm. And, you have to make sure you don't let your emotions uh, dictate what you say and do to your child. Same thing in business. I mean, this is a life thing. So whenever my kids mess up, and I have had to grow because when I first started coaching, one of my players made a mistake, and I might say something that I shouldn't say to them, and I might react in an emotional way that I shouldn't have. But as you grow and mature and really, take all the steps that you need to work on yourself, to better yourself, and that's one thing that I've done with my kids is I stay calm. My son totaled his truck 3 weeks ago, and
Ugh,
there might have been a day that of course, he's fine, and that was the first and
a
foremost,
big
but
thing.
you have to stay calm in those situations, especially as a parent, especially as a business owner. Um, you know, let everybody else talk. Let everybody else speak, and then, really listen and learn what the problem is so that you can help solve it. And that's the strategy I take with my kids, with business, with relationships in general.
Sounds like good advice, and definitely based on what you're good at. So love that. So you work in commercial insurance where systems and processes matter. Can you share a moment when improving a system created lasting ease or clarity?
Repeat that again.
Yep,
That's a
sure.
good question.
So systems and processes matter in insurance. What give me a moment when improving a system created lasting ease or clarity?
Oh, yeah, okay, so, your CRM. We changed here at the agency our CRM about a year and a half ago, where our reports were real time. Um, our reports had been, 30 minutes to an hour late. And in business, you have to know what's going on right now. So changing our CRM about a year and a half ago has really helped our systems and processes. When I first started, we would have a sheet of paper with follow-ups. Then we went to putting it in our phone for reminders on follow-ups and tasks. And now we have a CRM that does that. That even,
Yes.
where we're sending out emails to follow up, we're calling, texting, emailing, and now we have a CRM that does that for us, so it frees us up to prospect more. So
And
that
for
would
those not initiated into the acronym, CRM is a client relationship management tool.
thank you.
A lot of small business people don't use a CRM, and they do all the things you just said. They use Outlook, they use, their email, they use all the things that it's not repeatable necessarily. They have to copy and paste and do things, so it spends more time, but it's also less efficient from keeping your business moving forward because you're spending time doing things that a system's already designed to do and can remind you to do things. It's kind of like AI a little bit. And now a lot of the CRMs are being infused with AI. So some of those tasks the time is even less now because AI is doing it for you. So
That's right.
if you haven't jumped on either of those bandwagons, there's no better time.
Exactly, exactly.
Um, what's one early mistake you made in business or leadership that still influences how you operate today?
Well, when I first started, I didn't have enough staff. As a business owner, you have to have the right people in the right, so like John Gordon says, get the right people on the bus and put them in the right seats. When I first I've been when I first started, I went through so many different employees because my hiring pardon me, my hiring process was not what it needed to be. I didn't have that system ironed out. And then when I got them in here, they weren't the right fit. And I didn't know that on the front end, and I should have. So that was a huge mistake starting out. That cost me quite a bit of money. But you fix that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Well, and it's a great parallel to a BNI chapter, right? Is if you don't
yes,
have the right system, if you're not interviewing, there is a manual where it has interview questions if you're not using that. And we've actually even enhanced that because there's some additional questions we've asked that are more situation driven, where we can hear how people are. It's kind of hitting all the BNI things, but it doesn't necessarily hit the personality things. And having been a recruiter, it's good
right,
to ask kind of situational questions where what would happen if, so you get truer answers because a lot of a yes no question isn't necessarily going to get you the right people. So
right,
it translates well into we want because you said if you don't have the right people, not going to make it the right. You're not going to make money. Same happens in a chapter, right? We have the wrong
that's
people,
right.
a lot of turnover. We don't make money, and that's the whole point.
Exactly,
So good
exactly.
stuff there. I love that. All right.
Yes.
So, what excites you most about this next chapter moving into the district manager role?
It's a challenge. I love a new challenge. We have a lot here at Farmers in West Tennessee. We have a lot of magnificent agents that I'm friends with and I know well, and we have some that need to do better. For lack of a better word. Um, so I'm excited to get in there and help guide them on systems and processes and things that they do on a daily basis that's going to lift their agency up. So helping people. I'm excited to share what I know and keep cultivating relationships with these agents to help them grow.
Spread the love.
So
All
yeah.
right, let's roll into our quick fire round. So these are just quick answers, hopefully short questions with quicker answers. So, what's one small decision you make every day that has a bigger impact than people realize?
My faith. definitely. My faith. First thing I do, devotional every day.
Okay. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh, um, a financial planner.
Okay. Fair enough. Preventing problems or fixing them, which do you naturally prioritize?
Preventing, but I do enjoy fixing.
Okay, perfect. One habit that keeps your week from going off the rails.
Um, my calendar, planning, sticking to my calendar.
All right. One risk business owners underestimate the most.
Um, your budget. I think budgeting is can make or break a business quicker than anything else. So, yeah,
Okay.
I,
How about from an insurance perspective? What's the biggest risk from an insurance perspective that people overlook?
as far as
Businesses.
clients.
Yeah,
Oh, as far as
businesses.
oh, yeah, lack of coverage. They worry more about the premium than protecting their livelihood.
Yes. That's talking to the right people about the right stuff, right? All right. And if your business had a personality, what would people notice first?
That we care about them. We want everybody to be successful and happy.
Love that. And what has BNI taught you about people that business alone never could?
Uh, oh, that's great. Um, Accountability is my number one with BNI. So I hold myself accountable, but I have often in the past not held the people around me as accountable. So that's
Okay.
helped.
All right. And finish this sentence. Owning a business to me means.
It means helping other people.
Okay, awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all that you've done in our chapter, and just being around you is always a joy. And you model what consistency and leadership looks like. So we appreciate you very much.
Well, that's the pot calling the kettle black. So
Of
I appreciate that, Tammy. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me
course.
on.
It was my pleasure. And before we wrap up, I want to thank the audience for listening, especially my fellow BNI members. If you don't remember that this is a CEU credit, go ahead and give yourself that credit now. And from a givers gain perspective, would love if you enjoyed this episode or all the other episodes that you give us a subscription to the channel if you're on YouTube, ideally. Like and comment would also be wonderful. That helps the algorithm show us to more people, so more people get helped by this opportunity. And that's all I have for you today. So thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time on The Perfect 100.
Thanks for listening to The Perfect 100. If today's episode sparked a new idea or inspired you to show up differently in your chapter, share it with your team, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. And if you're curious about your own CliftonStrengths and how to bring out the best in yourself or your chapter or your business, head to TammyZurak.com to learn more about building your superpowers into everything you do. Keep showing up, keep connecting, and keep building your perfect 100.